I didn't forgive my husband for a mistake and didn't trust him with our child. My husband Alex had always been the type to take shortcuts. He'd skip reading instructions when building furniture, leave dishes in the sink saying he'd get to them later, and show up 5 minutes late to everything because he thought being on time was for suckers. I used to find it charming in a weird way, like he was this laid-back guy who didn't stress about the small stuff. But when our daughter Emma was born, I kept telling him that shortcuts don't work with babies. You can't just wing it when someone's life depends on you. He'd roll his eyes and say I was being paranoid, that babies are tougher than I thought. We'd fight about it constantly, me begging him to double-check the car seat, him telling me to chill out because people have been raising kids for thousands of years without manuals. The turning point happened on a Tuesday afternoon when Emma was 8 months old. I had to run to the pharmacy to pick up her medicine because she'd been fighting an ear infection. Alex was supposed to watch her for exactly 45 minutes while I was gone. Simple, right? I came home to find Emma screaming in her crib, completely soaked through her diaper and clothes. Alex was in the garage working on his motorcycle with noise-canceling headphones on. He didn't even hear her crying. When I confronted him, he shrugged and said, "She was napping when you left. I figured she'd sleep the whole time." That's when I noticed the baby gate at the top of the stairs was wide open. Emma had learned to crawl the week before. If she'd woken up and somehow gotten out of her crib, she could have fallen down those stairs and died. When I pointed this out, Alex just said, "But she didn't get out, so what's the big deal?" I lost it. I screamed at him that there is no what if when it comes to our child's safety. He got defensive and said I was treating him like an idiot, that he'd been fine watching her before. But that was the thing. I realized I'd never actually left them completely alone before. I'd always been hovering, checking in, basically doing the parenting while he just existed in the same room. From that day on, I couldn't trust him with Emma alone, not even for 10 minutes. When his mom called asking if Alex could bring Emma over for a visit, I made up excuses. When he wanted to take her to the park while I grocery shopped, I insisted we all go together. He started getting frustrated, asking why I didn't trust him, but I couldn't explain it without starting another fight. The breaking point came 3 months later when Alex's work sent him on a weekend conference. He assumed he'd take Emma with him since I had my friend's wedding to attend. When I told him absolutely not, that I'd skip the wedding instead, he exploded. He said I was being controlling and crazy, that I was treating him like some deadbeat dad when he'd never actually hurt Emma. I finally told him the truth, that I didn't trust him because he couldn't be bothered to pay attention to basic safety stuff, that I was terrified something would happen to our daughter if I wasn't there to catch his mistakes. He stormed out and went to stay at his brother's place for the weekend. His family started calling me, saying I was being unreasonable, and that Alex was a good father who just made one mistake. But it wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern of not taking things seriously. When Alex came back, he tried to prove me wrong by being super attentive for like a week, but then he'd slip back into old habits, leaving cabinet locks unfastened or forgetting to put the safety covers back on the electrical outlets. Each time I'd point it out, he'd get defensive and say I was looking for reasons to criticize him. We tried counseling, but Alex just used it as a platform to complain about how I didn't trust him. The therapist kept suggesting we work on rebuilding trust gradually, but I couldn't get past the image of Emma at the top of those stairs. What if she had crawled out? What if she had fallen? Eventually, Alex started working longer hours, saying it was easier than being monitored all the time at home. We'd go days barely speaking except about logistics, who's picking up diapers, when Emma's next doctor appointment was, stuff like that. The distance between us grew wider every week. Now Emma's 2, and Alex still can't understand why I won't leave them alone together.